Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
Fear of being persecuted is a real fear.
Yeah.
Fear of going insane or being thought of as insane, well, that might be real, but yeah. I don't know of very many people who have gone insane because they took an interest in parapsychology.
Where would we find any statistics on it?
Yeah.
I do know that certainly a lot of people who have admitted to having psychic and spiritual experiences have been treated very badly.
Yeah.
They've been referred to psychiatrists. Some of them have actually been committed just because they had an unusual experience, and so it must be a sign of craziness. I know I've ended up being a sort of a therapist to some of those people, even though that wasn't part of my life plan. I started training in clinical psychology in graduate school because I thought it would be hard to make a living with my interests, but there was plenty of need for therapists. But I gave it up after a while thinking, I don't have enough emotional intelligence. And I know the tests and stuff we had back then weren't that good. But I've had hundreds of phone calls and letters and the like over the years from people who will admit to having some sort of what to me is a garden variety psychic experience, but they worried that they were going crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that I, as a professor, as something of an authority figure, could say, no, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going crazy, right? That's a kind of thing that happens to the majority of people, actually, except they never talk about it, so they think it's really weird and worry about it. And it has a name like telepathy or clairvoyance or something like that, and it doesn't mean you're necessarily going crazy. You should still be discreet who you talk to about it, because there are a lot of prejudiced people out there who'll get excited about it. And most of those people have been greatly relieved by 5 minutes of conversation that way. A few, I think, were crazy. I mean, they really needed some mental health. Just because whether you're mentally ill or mentally normal has nothing to do with whether or not you have psychic experiences. They happen to everybody.
Well, I do believe there's some research suggesting that amongst the people who report more spontaneous psychic experiences, they also report a greater incidence of early childhood abuse.
That's certainly been the case for some people who've turned out to be quite psychic later in life also. I'm thinking of Eileen Garrett, for instance, who had an extremely lonely and persecuted kind of childhood. So the only people she could play with were her so-called imaginary playmates and whatnot. And that happens with a lot of people.
So there may be a relationship with imaginary playmates being a kind of doorway into a psychic realm.
I mean, some people are lucky enough to take these unusual things and use them as an opening or as a growth challenge or something like that. But a lot of people just suffer because they're being told it's crazy.